"We stand together," she whispered back. "We find the light." Hope flickered, but the question loomed. Would they be able to find their way through the darkness together? Would the storm outside be more daunting than the one brewing inside their hearts? The darkness felt suffocating. Lucy could practically hear the fear in the room. It was like a tangible weight pressing down on everyone's shoulders. The power had gone out, and the only sound punctuating the thick silence was the rain hammering against the windows. She strained to see the faces of her neighbors, expecting to find fear reflected back at her. But then she heard a soft voice breaking through the tension. "Lucy." It was Jamie, illuminated by the faint light filtering through the windows. "What do we do now?" In that moment, Lucy realized the gravity of their situation. Emotions surged inside her. They were all standing on the brink, teetering between hope and despair. "We pause," she said, the fear in her own voice evident. "We breathe. This storm will pass, just like we have to." A few murmurs of agreement floated through the crowd, but uncertainty still tangled in the air. Lucy's heart raced. She knew she had to do more than just soothe fears. They needed tangible steps, a clear plan. She closed her eyes briefly, drawing strength from the memories of laughter and warmth the sweet spot had given them all. Memories she was determined to rekindle. "Can anyone find a flashlight?" Lucy called out, hoping someone would respond quickly. A few moments passed, the crowd shifting again, but suddenly, from the far end of the hall, Mr. Thompson stood, a glow in his hands. "I've got one," he said, turning on the flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness. The glow fell on Lucy, her face lit with determination. "Let's see this through," he continued, pointing the light around the room. With his light guiding them, the atmosphere began to shift. People stepped closer together, their faces illuminated by the shared hope. "Those memories we cherish, they can guide us," Lucy urged. "Mr. Thompson is right. We need to be courageous. Let's brainstorm ideas. We can do this." Loud whispers suddenly erupted around the room as people began sharing their thoughts. The initial sparks of excitement ignited creative discussions. "What if we have a fundraiser at the park?" someone suggested. Another chimed in. "We could host ice cream socials every weekend." The ideas kept flowing, their momentum like a river bursting through a dam. Lucy cast a glance at her mom. Tears were still glistening on her cheeks, but now they seemed to be tears of pride rather than fear. Lucy felt her heart swell. "See, we're not losing the sweet spot. We're just taking it to the next level." Jamie chuckled softly. "Just imagine a whole festival dedicated to ice cream. We could have a competition, best flavors, best scoops." Laughter erupted, brightening the mood, a stark contrast to the ferocious storm raging outside. As each person shared, Lucy felt waves of gratitude wash over her. They were united, their voices harmonizing into one powerful chorus of determination. But just then, an unsteady flicker made the flashlight shake. "Are you ready for this?" Jamie's words were playful, but they carried an undercurrent of seriousness. Every heart present felt the weight of the question. "Together," Lucy said, her voice steady, "we will shine through this. Even the darkest storms can't dim our light when we hold on to each other." The enthusiasm grew, and Lucy felt optimistic. Yet something lingered, an echo of the storm. As they leaned into their plans, the uncertainty about Mr. Thompson's intentions remained. What if this partnership took a turn? Would they be able to keep what mattered most? With the light flickering above, a new question arose. Did they truly trust the man who offered help? And if they took a leap of faith, would it lead them to their dreams or to heartache? The room buzzed with excitement, ideas bouncing off the walls like the storm raging outside. But amid the energy, Lucy couldn't shake off the tight knot of worry in her stomach. Did they really trust Mr. Thompson? Why would someone like him want to help them? As her thoughts spiraled, the light flickered again, pulling her back into the moment. "Let's put it to a vote," Jamie shouted, his eyes sparkling. "Who wants to pitch our ideas to Mr. Thompson? Raise your hand." With the flashlight's beams swaying like a lighthouse in a storm, hands shot up. Lucy felt a thrill at their eagerness, but the fight-or-flight instinct still nipped at her heels. She hesitated, then joined the raucous show of hands, her conviction growing. What do we have to lose, she thought, the warmth of community pushing away her doubt. All right, Jamie laughed. I love the enthusiasm. We'll gather around Mr. Thompson to share our plans. But first, someone find more flashlights or candles so we don't lose our spark again. Laughter rang out again, turning the fear into camaraderie. The connection was palpable. They were more than afraid neighbors. They were partners against the darkness. And then, just as the chatter settled into a warm buzz, a cold gust swept through the hall. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows and stirring the sense of dread hidden beneath their excitement. Lucy shivered involuntarily. She clutched her arms tighter, breathing deeply to find her resolve. The storm wasn't just outside, it was inside her, too. Okay, let's focus on what we can control, she said, raising her voice again to draw everyone's attention. Mr. Thompson is here to help us, and I think we should give him a chance. A wave of murmurs passed through the group. Some nodded, while others exchanged uncertain glances. What if he's in this just for publicity? A voice piped up from the back. Or to take over? Another added with a hint of skepticism. The tension resurfaced and rippled through the crowd, but Lucy pressed on. We can't let fear dictate our choices. This is our community. We know what we need. If Mr. Thompson believes in our dreams, then let's show him what we can do. Silence lingered as Lucy's words sank into the room. People shifted, their expressions softening, hearts catching on the hope she ignited within them. Jamie stepped forward, his demeanor shifting from playful to serious. Lucy's right. We have our ideas. If we present them well, he might just surprise us. In that moment, the anxiety shifted into determination. They began to gather their thoughts, transforming their tentative plans into rallying cries that filled the hall with energy. It was no longer just about preserving the sweet spot. It was a chance to build something new, something better. But as the voices elevated into a chorus of excitement, Lucy noticed Mr. Thompson moving toward the back of the room. With a cautious glance, he whispered something into his phone. In that moment, dread washed over her again. Isn't that the kind of thing we should be worried about? She thought, trying to shake it off. But when he turned back, his face was steady, a thin smile on his lips that instilled a flicker of hope mixed with uncertainty. Okay, how do we want to do this? He asked, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. Lucy swallowed hard. We present our ideas, together, she said, meeting his gaze. One united front. But what if they were stepping into something far more complicated? As the gathering drew closer, Lucy's heart raced with anticipation and hesitation. Would they be ready for whatever came next? With the storm raging around them, the atmosphere pulsed with possibility and precariousness. The room seemed to vibrate with an energy both exhilarating and terrifying as Jamie ushered their ragtag group forward. It was time to face Mr. Thompson, the enigmatic figure who could hold the key to their dreams or just as easily become their biggest challenge. Lucy felt her palms sweat as she stood at the front. Other members of the group shuffled nervously behind her, their eyes glancing from the current chaos outside to the calm presence of Mr. Thompson. With every flicker of the candles, her heart thumped louder in her chest. All right, everyone, Jamie began, stepping alongside her. We've all thrown around a ton of ideas, but let's focus on the one that brought us all together. The sweet spot. Right, a voice called from the back. We need that place. It's our home. Yes, joined in another, and the chant spread, gaining momentum. Hope and unity wrapped around them like a warm blanket, easing Lucy's tension. She grinned, feeling the pulse of community wrap tighter around her. Let me start with our vision, Lucy spoke, her voice trembling but firm. We want the sweet spot to be more than just a place to gather. It could be a hub of creativity and love, a place where artists can showcase their work, families can find support, and kids can learn.
With each word, she could see their spirits lifting. Mr. Thompson listened. His expression didn't shift much, but Lucy tried to read his thoughts. Others followed her lead, tossing in suggestions where garden beds could flourish, spaces for local musicians, and workshops for kids and adults alike. The ideas flowed like flashes of lightning, bright against the dark backdrop of doubt. Then, without warning, the lights flickered once more. As the shadows drew closer, so did Lucy's unease. What if he doesn't think it's enough? What if he sees us as broken? She glanced at Mr. Thompson, who remained still, absorbing every word. After several moments, he raised his hands, the room quieting at once. "You've all shared passionate ideas, but I have to ask, what are you willing to fight for? What sacrifices are you ready to make for this vision?" His question hung heavy in the air. Lucy felt the weight of it settle on her shoulders. Sacrifices? All this energy, all this hope? They were teetering on a precipice, and the risk of losing everything flooded her thoughts. "It's more than just talk," Mr. Thompson continued, his voice dropping a notch, becoming more personal. "You'll need to be committed. Building something truly great doesn't come easy. There are obstacles everywhere." "Like what?" someone blurted out, a hint of impatience creeping into the atmosphere. Mr. Thompson held her gaze. "Like funding, resources, commitment from everyone involved. It won't always be smooth sailing, especially with your community connections. There's always a price to be paid." Lucy's heart sank for a moment. Doubt wormed its way back in. Would they truly go through with it? She glanced among her neighbors, their faces wrought with determination, yet laced with apprehension. "Look," she said, trying to rally their spirits once more, "we've been walking this road together. If we stick together, we can find a way through those obstacles. We've survived a storm. We can survive this too." A chorus of agreement rose, hearts ignited with purpose. They had spent too long waiting for change. Now was the time to push. "Let's meet again next week," Mr. Thompson said finally, his eyes searching each of theirs. "Bring me something tangible, a plan, something I can work with." As he turned to leave, a chill swept through the gathering. In one swift motion, the weight of what they had embarked upon settled into their bones. "Wait!" Lucy called, her voice clear amidst the charged air. "What if we fail?" He paused, turning back. "What if you don't?" As Mr. Thompson exited, Lucy's heart pounded with uncertainty and excitement. They were standing at the edge of a massive leap into the unknown. Would they find the courage? Would they really rise to the occasion, despite the storm brewing both outside and within? With all eyes on her, a new question hung thick in the air. How far were they willing to go to protect the community they loved? The following week crept up on Lucy like a stubborn shadow. The anticipation was palpable, almost suffocating, as the group reconvened in the same room. It echoed with the remnants of their last encounter, like a stage waiting for its actors. They all knew the stakes were higher this time, but that didn't diminish their resolve. As they gathered around the small table, each person carried something different: a sketch, a handful of notes, an idea scribbled on a napkin. Lucy watched them pull out their offerings, a mix of nervous excitement weaving through the room. There was Sam with a rough blueprint for a community garden, Sarah presenting her vision for art classes, and Jamie showcasing a plan to host open mic nights. "All right, everyone," Lucy called out, her heart racing. "Let's share what we've come up with." She took a deep breath, allowing nervousness to settle into determination. If they didn't discuss it, how would they know what each other needed? One by one, they shared their proposals. The energy surged as ideas bounced around, each offering a glimpse of something greater, a tangible version of the sweet spot. They were weaving together a tapestry of hope and dreams, every patch vibrant yet vulnerable. As they spoke, Lucy couldn't help but notice the spirit of the group shifting. The unease began to dissolve, replaced with palpable excitement. The raw passion in the room grew, lighting up their faces in ways she hadn't seen before.
Can you imagine this place? Jamie asked, nearly bursting at the seams. It'll be filled with laughter, music, art, people coming together as one. Lucy beamed. Yes, we can transform our dreams into reality. But what about the funding? The question dripped from her lips, heavy with the inevitability of their situation. The air grew heavy again, the spark dimming momentarily. We'll need to approach local businesses, suggested Sam. We have to show them how this can benefit the whole community. It's all about collaboration, right? Nods gathered around the table. They were restless and hungry for something more than just the place to meet. They wanted a thriving heartbeat for their neighborhood. But the lingering doubts still loomed. As the discussion ignited again, Lucy felt her own worries bubbling up inside her. What if they don't care? What if they see us as just a bunch of dreamers with no plan? Her voice cracked as she spoke, tightening her throat with that familiar lump of anxiety. But she was met with reassuring hands, voices lifting her back up. "We can show them our heart," Sarah declared with a fire in her eyes. "Passion is infectious." Inspired by that, Lucy found strength in their resolve. The sweet spot was more than bricks and mortar. It was about connection, about people willing to stand together. But would they be able to convince others to share in their dream? As the evening slipped away, they spent hours fine-tuning their plans. Laughter erupted along with the serious brainstorming sessions. Their walls began breaking down, revealing vulnerability wrapped in camaraderie. "Tomorrow, we go to the businesses," Lucy announced. "We gather as a team." Cheers erupted, but for Lucy, a tingling fear lingered. She felt the weight of their hopes resting on her shoulders. As the meeting wrapped up, she caught a glimpse of the determination in her friend's eyes. They believed in this vision, so maybe she should too. But when she walked out of the room, Lucy felt a twinge of doubt. Could they truly convince others to invest in their vision of the sweet spot? She took a deep breath, the warmth of support and friendship surrounding her. But lingering questions stirred within her, holding on to the fragile hope she desperately wanted to believe in. Would her doubt dissolve once they stepped into the daunting world outside, or would it only grow heavier? The next day loomed large, filled with possibility and fear. The moment they had worked towards for so long was finally here. Were they ready to face this world together? Or would they turn back when the weight of it became too heavy to bear? The sun broke over the horizon the next day, spilling golden light across the sleepy town. It felt almost surreal. The weight of yesterday's meeting still pressed against Lucy's chest as she gathered her things, determined to stay focused. She could hear the laughter of children playing outside, a reminder of what she was fighting for. A vibrant place that could bring joy and connection back to their community. In the hours leading up to their meeting with the businesses, anxiety flickered deep within her. As they gathered outside the community center, Lucy felt a knot in her stomach twist tighter. Surrounding her were her friends, buzzing with energy, but she saw the glint of doubt in her own eyes reflected in the others. "Let's breathe together," she said, raising her chin, earning small chuckles in return. "Just remember, passion is infectious," Sarah reminded, her voice bright with enthusiasm. They all nodded, drawing courage from each other. Lucy wanted to believe in their collective strength. They walked toward the first shop, a quaint bookstore owned by Mr. Thompson, who had always been kind to them. The bell chimed as they entered, and the familiar scent of aged paper and coffee enveloped them. Mr. Thompson looked up from behind the counter, surprise painted across his face. "What brings you all here?" he asked, his curiosity igniting a flicker of hope in Lucy's heart. Lucy stepped forward, heart racing. "Mr. Thompson, we're here to talk about a project we're passionate about. It's called The Sweet Spot. We want to create a community hub that involves art, music, and gardening." Mr. Thompson nodded, encouraging her to continue. With every word she spoke, Lucy felt herself growing bolder. Her friends jumped in, sharing their visions, each contributing pieces of their idea until the air crackled with the electricity of collaboration. But even as she spoke, doubt gnawed at her insides. Would this man see the value in their dream? Would he care enough to join them? Just as those fears crept in like a sly shadow, they suddenly dissipated as Mr. Thompson smiled wide. "I love it!" he exclaimed. "The community needs a place like that. I'd be happy to donate books for your programs." Relief crashed over Lucy like a wave, flooding her with warmth. The laughter of her friends crescendoed, washing the tension away. They twisted to each other, sharing excited glances. It was working. This was real. Next, they visited a cozy cafe a few blocks down. The owner, Maria, greeted them with bright eyes, her energy infectious. As they pitched their idea, the connection deepened. Maria laughed and clapped when they mentioned open mic nights, her face glowing with excitement. "I can provide pastries for those events," she promised, her enthusiasm rolling through the group. With each business they visited, the weight on Lucy's shoulders felt lighter. As the day wore on, they collected promises of support. Local establishments were eager to invest in their vision, and their hearts swelled with hope. But it all came to a sudden halt when they approached Joe's hardware store, a place known for its gruff owner. As they eased into the space, the atmosphere shifted. Joe's skeptical gaze felt like ice against the fire they had built throughout the day. "Why would anyone want another place to hang out? People are busy, Lucy," he grumbled, arms crossed against his chest. Pain shot through Lucy. All the joy of the day hung in the balance as Joe's words sunk in. Would their dreams be extinguished by his doubt? Her heart raced, but she took a step closer, feeling the support from her friends around her. "Because people need connection, Joe. They need somewhere they can belong. The sweet spot isn't just a business, it's community." As the room fell silent, she found herself hoping for a flicker of understanding in his eyes. The moment stretched, taut with possibility. What if they weren't done yet? What if her voice, their voices, were the key to breaking through his tough exterior? Could Lucy ignite a spark in Joe, or was this where their dreams would hit a wall? The silence was thick, like a heavy blanket draped over their hopes. Lucy held her breath, staring intently at Joe. She could practically feel the gears turning in his mind. Her friends had hushed. Every ounce of energy seemed to be focused on him. Would he crack? Would there be even a hint of compromise in that old heart of his? Finally, Joe shifted, uncrossing his arms slightly. "I just don't see how this will benefit anyone. Times are tough. The last thing we need is another dream that fades away," he said, tone slightly softer, but still rough around the edges. Lucy's heart sank, but she refused to let his skepticism douse her fire. "But that's exactly why we need this," she said, conviction saturating her voice. "People are feeling more isolated than ever. They need a place where they can come together, share their talents, and just be. If we don't fight for something like this, what do we leave behind?" She felt the surge of emotion rush through her, the tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. Joe looked away, eyes narrowing as he studied something just beyond them, maybe the shelves lined with tools and paints. "A community hub sounds fine in theory, but you're putting your faith in people." He hesitated, the weight of his own experience pausing his words. "Give us a chance, Joe," chimed in Ben, one of Lucy's friends, stepping forward. "We can showcase local artists, hold workshops, connect families. You'll see a boost in business. It'll create a ripple effect. These things do." Joe didn't respond immediately. His rugged face held a contemplative grimace. Could he really cling to this hardened exterior, this belief that communities don't rally around dreams? Lucy felt the tension in the air shift ever so slightly. Just imagine it, the excitement creeping back in, the sound of laughter, creativity, friendships blossoming, a place that can breathe life back into the town. We align together. Don't you want that for Fairwood? She stepped closer, her eyes pleading. The room felt charged. Even the clatter of tools seemed hushed.
Joe's lips pursed, and Lucy could see the conflict flashing through his gaze. Part of her wanted to reach out and shake him, to reveal the power of their vision. Then it happened. Just a flicker at first, but she noticed. His lips twitched at the corners. Maybe it was a smile, maybe just a smirk, but it gave her enough hope to latch onto. "All right, let's say I'm interested. What's the next step?" he asked, his voice gruff but tinged with curiosity. Lucy's heart soared. "We organize a community meeting, let everyone hear our ideas and get involved. It's all or nothing, and the more the merrier, right?" Joe nodded slowly. "Maybe I'll see you at this meeting," he muttered, his tone softening. Just like that, the glimmer of acceptance lit up the dim room. Lucy barely believed it. She felt as if she could float. As they stepped outside, laughter erupted among her friends, their faces bright and beaming with joy. Each of them embraced one another, relief washing over them. Lucy couldn't remember the last time she felt so high, so invincible. But beneath it all, a whisper of doubt still clung to her thoughts. What if this was just the start of an uphill battle? What if they faced more setbacks along the way? And the most pressing question lingered in her mind: could they maintain this momentum? The excitement melted into a shared silence as they walked back towards the community center, each of them lost in their own thoughts. It was then that Lucy turned to look at her friends. "If we can convince Joe, we can convince anyone, right?" They nodded, inspired by her optimism, yet knowing the path ahead could still be rocky. She could feel the bond forming even tighter amongst them, but something deep within her warned that even the brightest path can hide the darkest shadows. As they gathered to plan the community meeting, Lucy couldn't shake the feeling that they had just scratched the surface of a much bigger challenge. Would their newfound hope be a beacon or a booby trap? The day of the community meeting arrived with a sense of electricity hanging in the air. The sun dared to peek through the clouds, and Lucy felt anticipation tingle in her fingertips as she stood at the front of the bustling community center. The familiar faces of neighbors and friends filled the room, creating a sea of expectation. "We did this together," she whispered to herself, her heart swelling with pride and nervousness. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement and a hint of skepticism, a reflection of the battle they'd been fighting. This wasn't just about saving the sweet spot anymore. It was about uniting the community. Lucy scanned the room, taking in the eager faces, but also noting the lingering doubt in some eyes. Was it enough to rally everyone with passion alone? Jamie was the first to speak, his voice ringing clear as he stood beside Lucy. "Thank you for coming tonight. We're here because we care about Maplewood and about a place we all love, the sweet spot." The crowd stirred, nodding, but Lucy felt the weight of unspoken worries lingering in the air. "1 week ago, we took a leap of faith, and let me tell you, it has been a wild ride," Lucy added, her voice rising above the murmurs. "From meeting local business owners to sharing dreams of community, it's become more than just ice cream. It's about our friendships, our families, and our future." As she spoke, her heart surged with hope, but doubt still flashed across some faces. "And this is where you all come in," she continued, inviting them to step into this journey. "We need your ideas, your voice, and your support. Together, we can create something magnificent." There it was. A spark ignited. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd, and Lucy felt the collective energy shift towards optimism. Mrs. Hargrove stood up, her hands shaking with emotion. "I've seen so many kids grow up in that shop, laughing and sharing ice cream with family. We can't let that disappear." "Exactly," chimed in Mr. Davis. "We can't just talk about it. We need a plan. Let's keep this rolling." Encouraged, Lucy watched as more hands shot up, ideas pouring out like a wellspring. Sam chimed in. "We can host monthly events, potlucks, and art fairs." The crowd erupted, energy flowing, excitement filling the room. As more ideas surfaced, Lucy felt herself beaming, a radiant smile spreading across her face. But a shadow crossed her mind once again. What if those walls of doubt still loomed, waiting to collapse? Just then, she caught Joe's eye across the room. He remained silent, arms crossed, but his expression thoughtful. "Before we dive into the details," Joe finally spoke, his voice low but resonant, "I need to understand one thing. What's in it for us? How does this benefit the entire community?" Everyone stopped. The question hung thick, and uncertainty rippled through the audience once more. Lucy's heart pounded in her chest. If they didn't answer well, everything could come crashing down. "Because when we come together," Lucy regained her footing, "we connect our hearts, our dreams intertwine, bringing more business, more support, not just for the sweet spot, but for all of Maplewood." She took a breath, letting her emotion rise. "This place brings us together, and when families gather, they spend money. It becomes a hub of vibrancy and warmth. It's a win-win." Joe studied her closely, and a flicker of light shone in his eyes. "Maybe you're on to something," he muttered. A few heads nodded cautiously, and Lucy felt a twist of excitement spark within her. With each passing moment, more hands shot up. The room was alive with ideas, and Lucy could see walls dissolving. They were not just fighting for ice cream, they were fighting for the heart of their community. She felt invincible, sailing through the clouds of uncertainty, buoyed by the energy of her neighbors. After hours of brainstorming, laughter, and hope, the meeting wrapped up with an overarching consensus. They would support the sweet spot together, and it would thrive as a living, breathing entity right in the heart of their town. "Let's take this forward," Lucy proclaimed, her voice ringing with joy. "Not just today, but in action. We'll meet again next week. Please bring your thoughts, plans, and champions for this journey." As the crowd dispersed, Lucy felt like she was floating. In that moment of triumph, it seemed there was no storm they couldn't weather together. They had faced their fears, solidified their determination, and taken the first bold step forward. But behind her elation, questions remained. Could they sustain this momentum? What would the road ahead really look like? Even so, she felt a bubbling sense of unity spreading through her. Lucy took the hands of her friends, her heart full, while trepidation flickered, placing hopes under the light of action. With every step toward protecting their cherished community, she realized something vital. A single voice could spark a change, but it was the collective heartbeat of the community that would carry them to the finish line. And as she dove into that ocean of dreams, she committed deeply to their journey, ready to embrace whatever came next. Now was the moment to take action. So, if you believe in the power of community, subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive updates and stories. Leave a like now to show your support. It really makes a difference. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this incredible transformation. And don't wait, not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see our story unfold. Together, let's keep the spirit of Maplewood alive.